Happy Hump Day. Welcome into the Madhouse Chicago Hockey Podcast. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen.
I'm sorry, what?
Did I say Madhouse Podcast?
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I thought I did that. I did that, didn't I?
What year is it?
I literally said that, and my
What?
brain, I was looking at the word Madhouse on my screen.
Whoa.
And I literally, got a warm feeling.
Wow.
Did I just say the wrong thing?
You did.
Oh.
You went.
Shut it down. Let's start again.
Yeah.
Sorry,
let's
I'm
try
forgetting
again.
James.
Let's
James
try
is
again.
dead.
Go for it.
In 3, 2, go.
We'll edit that in post.
Hey, happy Hump Day. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
Now we can
I'm Jay
start.
Zawaski. That's James Naveau.
back in the present.
That was crazy. I seriously had
Wow.
a physical.
To be honest with you, the first time that
thought
it's
you
taken
were-
over
yeah.
2 years for you to do that
I know.
for the first time is rather impressive.
That is impressive.
I tried to change up my cadence, and look what happens. See,
I
you
thought
try
you
to
were-
stray a
You
little
changed
bit.
it up all right.
Yeah, I thought
my
you were
God.
doing like a little bit for a second, and then you were just like, "Wait a minute."
Oh
Wow.
Lord. Yeah, I also
That was
I did. I
incredible.
seriously got that warm pit of my stomach thing,
Yeah.
and I didn't know why I got that feeling. Why am I all of a sudden nervous? Well, there you go, because I butchered the open. This is indeed the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. We're glad you're here. We're glad you were with us on the old podcast, if you were. But we got some mailbag stuff to get to, and we're going to do that. You sent so many questions for Monday. We needed literally 2 shows to get it all in, so we're going to do that. Steven, I did not have any Coors Light before the show. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, maybe you need.
Maybe I need to crack one open and settle myself down here a little bit. But we're going to get your questions. Do us a favor. Smash that like button for us on the YouTube page. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube page as well. Same deal if you're a podcast listener. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. And nothing lower than a 5-star review, because a 4-star review is a 1-star review. The way
Essentially, yeah.
Apple Podcast looks at it, and that's stupid, but
Yeah.
here we are.
Well,
All right, Law.
What are you gonna do?
Are we ready?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Should we go back to the
as
sack?
ready as we ever will be?
All
Back
right.
to the sack.
Well,
sack.
here we go. Let me just quickly change that a little bit. All right. I was also told by Zach that I had actually had pregame on the lower, so that's
Look,
gone.
man, we
Whoops.
were all up late last
Hey,
night, all
man.
right? Back off of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I was doing Cubs Post at 1:30 a.m. That
I was
was
literally
exciting.
crawling in the bed 10 hours ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back into the mail bag, and we're going to start with Rizzy NHL. And Rizzy says, with Nazar coming after his sophomore year, could you see Oliver Moore and Sam Renzel coming next year after their college seasons?
Good question.
Yes, I could see that happening. I think one thing to remember is Sam Renzel is 19. He'll be 20 next season. So because he actually took an extra year to play in the USHL before going to Minnesota. So he wasn't a true 18-year-old freshman in college this last year. So he's agedly a little bit longer down his development path. But yeah, I think Moore and Renzel, if they put up seasons that build off of what they did this year, there's no reason for them to stick around for a third year or anything like that. Like, I think they'll be ready to make the jump.
You think both, or do you
Both,
think there's
yeah.
a better chance one than the other?
No, I think they're both in that range of like put two good college seasons together, and they'll be at that spot.
Yeah, I would imagine Renzel more than Moore, but maybe both of them. But Renzel's going to need at least one full season in Rockford, I think, before they.
Yeah,
Like, he may come up and play 2 or 3 games at the end with the Hawks, and then the following season he's in Rockford. He needs at least a year
the Alex
in
Vlasic
Rockford.
treatment.
Maybe 2. Who knows? We'll see. The good news is there's no reason to rush him to the NHL. You've got plenty of good young defensemen already here and coming. More, if he's comes in like Nazar and impresses right off the bat, he may never play a game in Rockford, but if he needs some time down there, he needs some time down there. But
yeah, and that's fine.
But turning pro after next season, sure. As you mentioned, Rinzel's got that extra year in the USHL, so he's a year older,
which is good for a defenseman.
Sure, yeah,
absolutely.
Take that extra time,
especially a guy who he is very tall, but he's very gangly. He sort of needed some time, and probably still does, to fill out that NHL body.
I mean, that was a long-term project when you took him.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the Hawks only had that pick in that round instead of that was their first round, if they didn't have 7 and 13 ahead of that, they probably wouldn't have taken Rinzel. They would have taken a more, quote, safer pick. Yeah. This is looking good now because Rinzel had a huge
great.
Freshman year, great season. Mm-hmm. He's coming along nicely, but when that pick was made, that was looked as like a 4 to 5 year project type pick. So, maybe a year's been taken off that projection, but there's zero reason to rush either of these guys or any of these prospects right now.
Right,
Patience is good, and development's not linear. They're not all on the same trajectory.
So aside from those two, where do we think? So more Rinzel end of next year. Who's next after them? Like, are we talking about like Samuel Savoie?
Ryan Green and Aiden Thompson probably.
Yeah.
Those 4 guys out of college next year, I would think are all on the path of turning pro. Savoie. I mean, he's 20
I think
now.
He'll be Rockford next year.
He might be in Rockford next year, because he's in that same group as like Gavin Hayes and Paul Ludwinski. It just so happens that Savoie's season is continuing into the postseason. Same with Hayes. So I think those guys are all in Rockford next year. And then beyond that, as far as how in tune I've been with the North American-based guys through the Rebuild Report, as if you've been paying attention to that, Greg's got the European guys as far as draft prospects go. And, beyond that, I think you're still waiting on some players like I know a lot of people are excited about Nick Lardis. You should be. But he is going to play all of next season in the OHL, maybe a third year in the OHL beyond that. I don't think that would be a bad idea. And then, I think beyond those guys, like I think it's going to be a pretty clear like loading of that prospect system, because you're going to have guys move through. Martin Mishak is another one that like he'll play again in juniors next year, and then we'll see from there. So the thing is, things are really good at the top of the prospect pool. Like, you have a lot of guys where you're not like squinting hard to be like, maybe they could play in the NHL. Like, they give a lot of guys that it looks like they have a really good shot and a good opportunity to get there.
Right. All right, Law, what do we got next?
All right, let's go back into the mail sack. Let's go with this one from Sam at Parker Sam. Any more veteran free agents around the league that are becoming targets for off-season signings as the season comes to a close? ?
More that are not already expected to be free agents? I don't know about.
I mean, we've talked about a lot of guys that they potentially look at. I know, the pipe dream, the ultimate get would be a Steven Stamkos. We all know that that's probably unrealistic.
Yeah.
Sam Reinhart's another big name. The Hawks aren't going to be in that discussion at all.
No, it shouldn't be.
So there's a lot of good second-tier guys that will be immediate upgrades. I've mentioned my top 3 realistic targets. Bring back Max Domi, number 1. And then go after a guy like Jake DeBrusk or a guy like Jack Roslovic.
Mm-hmm.
You replace Colin Blackwell, Taylor Radish, and whoever, Mackenzie Entwistle / Reese Johnson, with Max Domi, Jake DeBrusk, and Jack Roslovic. Your team is a hell of a lot better next season.
Sure, yeah.
A hell of a lot better. And another reason, like you just mentioned with the last question, how the Blackhawks have this wave of prospects that you don't have to really squint to see that they're NHL potential. Mm-hmm. That's all the more reason to not go out and do what the Detroit Red Wings did and bring in all these veterans at once, because then all those young guys all of a sudden now don't have a spot to play in.
Right.
And you're not going to bench a guy you signed for 4 years and $30 million to play Gavin Hayes or to play, Oliver Moore. Like, you've got to allow these guys to develop, but actually have roster spots to have when it's their time to get here.
Yeah, that's why I look at somebody like Teuvo Teravainen as a really good fit, because obviously familiar with the city. He can kind of do everything. It's a guy that in a pinch, if you wanted to, he won't here. Let's be realistic. But if you had to, play him in your bottom six in a third line, fourth line role. Again, he's not going to, but he's defensively capable enough to handle that kind of a role too, where if somehow it is Celebrini and you've got Bedard and Nazar becomes a stud, and then you look at you got Oliver Moore too, and you got Taylor Hall too, and all these guys are putting up big numbers, and you are looking at a situation where someone's going to get boxed out, and maybe, just maybe, you look at Nazar and Bedard and say, well, we can't really play them on the bottom six at this point in their careers, so maybe we put Teuvo on that role, kind of like they did with Foligno. And again, Teuvo is a much better off. I hope I'm being clear here. I'm just saying that Teuvo brings a versatility, and I think Max Domi kind of checks that box too.
Yeah,
is a guy that can kind of do whatever you need him to do. Obviously, better in a top six role, more effective, but in a pinch, in a jam, could help you out wherever you really need it.
Yeah, I think if a guy like Teuvo is coming to this team, he's playing in the top six. I agree to the point you're making. Like, if he needed to be in a lower lineup role traditionally, he could do it. I just don't think the talent would be here to push him to that level in
not
Chicago.
Yet.
Yeah, not yet at least. I mean, the other thing with him is you got to think what is the contract length that he's looking for, because he's 29 now, so he might be looking at potentially his last long-ish term contract, and I don't know if that's jiving with what Kyle Davidson wants to accomplish in free agency this year, where it kind of seems like if they're going for veterans, it might be a more 2 to 3, maybe 4-year term, just because I think Davidson is really setting up that 26-27 season to be flexible for a lot of these young guys that are coming up, to be able to have roster spots available and money available for all of them.
And it'll be interesting seeing how free agent goes, because there were a lot of guys last year that we thought were going to get big deals. Max Domi, one of them, that they had to settle for one-year deals. Tyler Bertuzzi was another one. The way he played in the playoffs and down the stretch for the Bruins, we were all like, oh, he's going to get someone's going to give him a 5 or 6 year deal. He had to settle for a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see what those type of guys get this, because there's still, nobody knows the exact certainty of the salary cap, and the Canadian dollar is not great right now.
No.
So there might be some teams economically. That's the biggest reason the Winnipeg Jets are struggling to get fans there. It's not because of the product. It's because they're all broke.
Yeah.
They don't have the money. The economy is not great right now in Canada. So that might have an effect on some of these free agents, to where a guy that Teuvo says, well, I want to get a 4-year deal, and it just might not be there. And then the Blackhawks could say, well, your best offer has been a 2-year deal. We'll give you a 2-year deal, and we'll give you an extra $1 million per year than anybody else offered you.
Would you be willing to give him term if the money was right?
Maybe.
If you're not, I don't know. I really think Davidson is pushing that 26-27 season to be rolling out the red carpet for here's all of these young guys that I invested in. Not all of them, obviously, but here is a majority group of young guys that I drafted, that I developed under my GM tenure, and it'll be that new era of Blackhawks hockey, finally fully in the spotlight with Bedard and Nazar and Moore and Korchinski and Vlasic and all these guys being some of those headliners. So I don't know how many roster spots he wants to lock up long term that aren't already, with a guy like Seth Jones, to guys that are going to be into their early or late 30s by that time, or mid 30s by that time.
And another factor into the free agent market, as Windy City Hockey points out, that you're going to have the new Utah team, and they got a ton of cap space. Yeah. And they're going to want to put out the best product possible for night one.
And they have a roster that's on the rise, too. So
Yep, they got a lot of draft picks to trade, a lot of prospects to trade if they want to go out and get a big name that way, or they're overpay for somebody. I've already predicted, since the NHL draft lottery is rigged, they're going to win number one.
Oh, God.
Just to give that last twist of the knife to Arizona. And they'll have Macklin Celebrini and Sam Reinhard and Teuvo Teravainen and Steven Stamkos on opening night and still miss the playoffs by 3 points.
You have they have a hard sell to, I think, get some guys to willingly go to Salt Lake City. I don't know. That to me that city doesn't entice me all that much if I'm a professional athlete.
I have to look it up if they have state income tax. That's a factor.
That's true.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think that's only like Florida and.
All right, we got some super chats to get to on the other side of the break here, but first we got to tell you about Circa.
Yeah, Circa. They're the best sports book around. The best. You know why? Because of their tight money line splits and their low hold model. Games will strive to be on a -110 split, for example, on the Circa Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use a -115 or -120 split on that same game. Circa keeps as little money as possible on large market bets compared to other books. They also have high limits on winning players. They don't limit winning players based on how good they're doing. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do drop the hammer on winning players. And Circa encourages bettors to download and explore all the sports betting apps available, compare the lines, and see that you're going to get the best ones always from Circa Sportsbook. And you're always going to get the best customer service from Circa Sports because there are real people behind the Circa Sports brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. Boo. All aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main Circa Sportsbook at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. So download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app. Sign up today and be on the lookout for more Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537 or text GAMB, G-A-M-B, to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com.
And if you want to win and have great seats at your next sporting event or theater event or a concert or comedy show, hit up our friends at Game Time because you should not have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time has killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, those views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. With all that, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They're the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with helping find ways to save you money on tickets. You can find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And with Zone Deals, you pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings.
Nice.
Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHGO, and you'll save $20 on your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's knock out these super chats before we continue.
Knock them out.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll start with our good friend, Young Dangle God, who, of course, threw us $1 because...
No.
What do you think he said?
I wonder.
Bring Patrick Kane back.
I know a guy who's looking for a 2 to 3 year deal who just put up PPG numbers and would look perfect with Bedsy. Rhymes with Catrick Payne.
I take exception with he goes perfect with Bedard. You can't have two minus defensive players on the ice at the same time for 20-plus minutes a game.
Yeah.
You can't. I'm sorry.
It'd be wonderful.
You can play him with Taves
on the power play, but
yeah, you can play Kane with Taves. You can play him with Hossa. You can play him with Sharp. It's not going to work with Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
At even strength.
Not now, no.
No, it's just not. I don't know. I think they're happy to move on. They've made that pretty clear.
Shout out to Cricket, who threw us $5 for preemptive Kane comments.
Thank you, Cricket.
That is amazing. And this one is from Brandon Sikora. Korchinski, Rockford or Chicago? I argue Rockford because more exposure to power play and penalty kill. What's your opinion? Sorensen is a very good coach.
He's doing power play and penalty kill here.
Yeah, he's going to be in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, the only scenario where I'd see him in Rockford is if somehow next year he has this stretch of hockey where he just cannot figure it out.
Yeah.
And needs a reset, but he didn't have that this year.
Yeah.
So I don't
he was put into a weird limbo where he couldn't go to Rockford this year, but he wasn't going to get the most out of this season by just being in the WHL and not really taking those next strides at the professional level. So he had to be in Chicago. And yeah, he's had some rough games. I think the physical toll of a full NHL season is physically catching up to him. Also, don't forget, a 19-year-old kid lost his dad this year in the middle of the season. That is a mental toll and something, just a life experience that is really hard to deal with. So, I mean, it's been a interesting rookie season for him, but I think, you take the summer off. It's going to be a longer summer than he's had in the last few years of playing in the WHL, and get his mind and body right, come back next training camp and be ready to go. And I think he's gonna improve. If he's ass next season, then sure, you have the ability to give him to get him in Rockford and work with him there.
Yeah, the option is there, but there's no reason to just do it just because you can.
Right.
He learned a lot at the NHL level that he can now take into an off season and work on getting stronger, getting bigger.
Firm.
More firm, as they like to say in Rockford. And, I think this year was very good experience for him because now he can head into an off season, a much longer off season than what he's been used to.
Yeah.
And knowing what he has to do in order to hang with the NHL. It's not guesswork anymore.
Yeah.
He knows what he's got to do. He knows what to work on the ice, off the ice. I look for him to be bigger and stronger at next year's training camp. And, if they go out and get a free agent veteran like a Tanev or an Alec Martinez, that type of guy to be his partner like Jones has been for Vlasic, there definitely is no reason to send him to Rockford unless he absolutely has to. The only person that's going to make it obvious that he needs to go to Rockford is Kevin Korchinski. I think he'll be an every night player again and hopefully improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any. Again, of course, a 19-year-old defenseman is going to have his moments and his rough games and his bad decisions and his turnovers and things like that. But at no point did it seem like the game was overwhelming him. So yeah, again, like we all said, he'd have to really struggle where they'd have no choice, almost like Reichel.
Yeah,
where they're like, we have tried everything, nothing is working, so you are forcing our hand to do this.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully he will never have to play with a Jacob Magna, Jared Tenorti level player again.
Yeah, hopefully
that would be wonderful.
That would work wonders.
All right, well, let's go back into the mail bag. Charlie, the bacon guy. Rain Man, do you think Ethan Del Mastro plays next year in Chicago or Rockford?
He is going to get the big opportunity to take one of those spots that are going to be left open by Magna and Tenorti and maybe Zaitsev as well, to be in Chicago. I think the way he played this year in the AHL as a rookie is really impressive. He's got the size to hang in the NHL. It's just if those tools and the processing speed of the game is a little bit faster in the NHL. If he can be up to that speed, he's gonna have a real good chance to be in Chicago, and that'd be awesome. That'd be really exciting.
Yep, it's gonna be Ethan Del Mastro is gonna be the one that makes that decision for the Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. Like he's gonna be given every opportunity. I think it'll be him and Kaiser are gonna be the guys that will have the most looks.
Yeah.
In training camp.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be his play that decides where he starts the season. But I would be surprised if he's not in Chicago to start the year or very shortly after there. I mean, I would think he's ready to make that jump. He played the 2 games, and not for one second out there
okay.
looked out of place.
Yeah.
Like,
and he'll get ample minutes as Rockford goes into the playoffs. So he's going to be getting a lot of exposure in very meaningful games as soon as next week. So
Yep, and you've got 4 guys for sure: Korchinski, Murphy, Vlasic, and Jones. That will be here next year for sure, unless they trade Murphy, which maybe, but
you still have Nolan Allen as a guy that's going to get a look too.
Mm-hmm.
But the expectation is, at least as of a couple weeks ago, Scott Powers said they're expecting to sign a veteran defenseman. So you got one full-time spot open. I would imagine they're not going to want, let's say they, just to throw a name out there, they sign Chris Tanev. I don't think they're going to want Del Mastro and Kaiser on the roster at the same time, one of them sitting.
Yeah,
so
that
you might see another veteran brought in.
Yeah, the idea of bringing in a veteran, I wonder if that is we're bringing in a veteran to be the number 4, number 5 defenseman, or are we bringing in the veteran to be locker room presence, good soldier, and you're probably going to be the 7th guy. And they give opportunities to Del Mastro and Kaiser and Allen to be the 5 and 6 interchangeable. I wonder. Because veteran defenseman could mean two different things.
It's not Jared Tenorti. Sorry. Like the guy, nice guy, tough ass, does his best, but he's too much of a security blanket for Richardson. He plays him too much. I know a lot of it's been out of necessity, but I mean, come on. I've seen enough of that.
You can move on from that.
Our guy Nate says in the chat that I think Allen was hurt a lot this year. That's not the case. He's hurt right now. He suffered a knee injury, left knee injury a couple weeks ago. Up until that point, he had played every game. Him and Del Mastro were the only 2 Ice Hogs to have played, and Michael Tepley actually are the only Ice Hogs to have played in every game up until that point. So, and he should be back for the start of the playoffs, Allen. Yeah. So Allen will have a shot too. Kaiser, Del Mastro, Allen will be the 3 guys that really have the most opportunity in preseason next year. One of those guys will make the team for sure, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. We'll see. And as we know from the last couple of years, we all like Connor Murphy a lot. Great guy, solid defenseman, but reliable is not an adjective I will use for Connor Murphy anymore.
Yeah, he's had some injury history now being built up. So, hey, we all thought Peter Mrazek was eventually going to get hurt this year, and looks like he's
survived.
So who knows? But yeah, I don't think you want to bank on 82 games from Connor Murphy.
No. I wouldn't.
No, if that was a prize picks entry, it would be slamming the less.
All right, let's go back to the sack. Carroll. And what do we do about our goaltending? I'm sure Soderblom is a nice guy, but in my honest opinion, he could be much better. So, do we keep him, or do we trade him, or send him down to Rockford?
Soderblom is under contract for next season, but he does, if to my understanding, have the European clause where he can be loaned out or go back.
Is that like a Santa Claus reboot? Right. European clause?
The European clause,
If you suck, you go right to the North Pole.
Yeah.
That's the Santa Claus.
So I mean, I don't know how much the Blackhawks still have invested in him and his future in the organization, because they're basing it off this year. He didn't take any steps forward. And last year, you could say he was dealt some rough hands by the team in front of him. This year, he still got some of that, but also there was few and far between instances where you're like, wow, he came up with the big save when they needed him. Like, it was mostly, you want that one back. You got to make that one. And I don't know. He's still young, could still figure it out, but I just don't see it. Jackson Stauber and Drew Comezzo have played well in Rockford. Maybe one of them challenges for the backup spot. Maybe they bring in a veteran goalie as a free agent or in some sort of trade to push Stauber, Comezzo, and Soderblom for the backup spot. But I think they have to figure out something, because you can't re-up Soderblom and Mrazek and expect next season to be all that much better.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to improve the rest of the roster this summer. you can't then just come back and say we're going to run it back with Arvid Soderblom starting 30 games because it didn't work this year, and I'm not sure if it ever will. There's some veteran options out there if you want to keep Stauber and Comezzo in Rockford. Somebody asked earlier in the chat about Adam Guyon and his time frame. He is years away.
He still has to go to college.
He hasn't even gone to college yet. The timeline you should expect with Adam Guyon is wait. You're going to be waiting.
Yeah.
3-4 years before he's even in Rockford.
Drew Comezzo played 3 years in college.
Yeah.
So I would expect Guyon to play 2, 3, maybe 4. I don't know.
Yeah. He's not going to be in Rockford until like 27. So just patience. So maybe you bring in a veteran guy. There's every former Blackhawk goaltender that ever played available. Antti Ranta, Kevin Lankinen, Malcolm Subban, Colin Delia. They're all out there for you.
Get them all. Sign them all. Here's the list, by the way. If we're going
not a good list.
Cap hit down.
This is
from
why
top
Peter
to bottom.
Mrazek got his extension because the free agent list is garbage.
Yeah, Matt Murray, Ilya Samsonov, Marc-Andre Fleury, who I think just re-signed today.
He just signed an extra year with the
He loves being mid.
Capo Kakinen, the goalie.
I'll take him.
Prevel Francois, Kevin Lankinen, Cam Talbot, Casey DeSmith, Eric Comrie, Laurent Brossois, Martin Jones, James Reimer, Alex Nedeljkovic. This is what you're working with. And look, any of these names, okay, fine. Yeah. Just give me someone who can stop a puck he's supposed to.
Nedeljkovic would be interesting.
Out of that list, Capo Kakinen, Nedeljkovic, those are upgrades.
Yeah.
They're not great, but they're upgrades.
Right, yeah.
Sure. Is Casey DeSmith the guy that's
he's Pudwackian.
Okay, I can never remember. I knew it was one of those two Pittsburgh goalies. Yeah, Casey DeSmith is...
DeSmith is the,
Casey DePud.
No, thanks. Keep away from him.
That's French for DePud.
Yeah. He whacks the pud.
Well, maybe he would lose his Pudwackian behavior if he would just chill the F out and have himself a nice cold Coors Light like I should have before the show today. And I would have identified the show correctly. That would have been good.
Sure, yeah.
That's probably good for branding when you say the name of the show correctly. I was waiting for Jim from sales to quit yapping and throw me a beer, but he never did. He's still yapping, though. And whether it's your team stressing you out, loud salespeople, or life in general, things can feel chaotic. That's why Coors Light helps you find moments to chill all year long. It is the perfect cold refreshment to chill you out, especially during a game. Reminder, watch along tomorrow. The Coors Light will be flowing.
Is it a watch along?
It is a watch along.
Hooray.
I think you were in the bathroom when we were discussing that.
Officially official.
Yep.
All right.
And, there's the need to chill and there's the want to chill. I like the want. It's want to chill kind of year.
To chill.
Right? It's the time of season starting to get warm. I know it's rainy, but fire up that grill. Get the Blackstone going. Get the lawn cut.
TWTC.
Nothing better than the post-lawn cutting Coors Light. What a gift you give yourself as you admire your lawn from a distance.
Or the during lawn cutting Coors Light.
It gets a little full. It gets hot fast that way. Even Coors Light gets hot fast.
I stand there and drink a cup of coffee while my lawn service cuts my grass.
You watch from your window.
You missed a spot over there.
Shipping my coffee.
In your bathrobe.
Throw them a couple Coors Lights as a tip. There you go. Yeah. When those mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold filtered, cold lagered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When it's time to chill, what do you open? A Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. When it's time to chill, Coors Light is the beer we reach for. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door or your porch or your garage with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Are you in the market for a new car, Greg?
Yeah, sorry. I was distracted. We're all having a rough day because we were here till 1 a.m. last night. Hey, if you want to get your beer, your Coors Light the old-fashioned way, go to the store and get it yourself. You can put a ton of Coors Light in the back of a Chevy pickup truck.
Yes, you can.
And you can drive home a winner this April after visiting our partner, Ray Chevrolet. They're sharing the best offers of the year right now. So make your way to Ray Chevrolet Route 12 in Fox Lake and join in on all the savings. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicago's largest Chevy inventories. Plus, you'll find that perfect tailgate/beer hauling vehicle. For a limited time, they're offering 0% financing for 72 months on new Silverados with over 100 available. And to top it all off, They're pricing over 125 vehicles under $20,000. Seriously, guys and girls, can pricing get more affordable? I don't think they can.
I don't think so.
But there is absolutely nothing in the world more affordable than free. And right now, you can get a free oil change at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake when you mention CHGO. That's us. A free oil change. And all you need to do is mention us, CHGO, when scheduling your oil change. Start the spring off right and schedule it by April 30th. Visit Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Find new roads.
All right. Got another super chat here from Thomas. He says, are we all in agreement that Isaac Phillips is no longer part of the future?
Probably.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they brought him back to play in Rockford, but he's probably looking for an NHL opportunity
or something. Yeah. Yeah.
He's restricted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just it seems like there wasn't the emphasis in developing him all that much more in Rockford, and kind of just coming up as like, you know, they had some injuries, bring a guy up, give him an opportunity, but he didn't stick in the lineup. He was getting, you know, scratched for Tenorti and Zaitsev, and it just didn't seem like he was given the runway of a young prospect that you'd say they're looking to improve him for the long term. So I don't know. I still think there's something there, but I don't know if the organization is invested in finding it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a victim of the numbers game. I like Isaac Phillips, great kid.
Yeah.
I think there's some NHL potential, you know, a 6th, 7th guy. But I just think he's been passed up by too many guys in the system. You know, Del Mastro showed up. Allen showed up, pushed him down the depth chart. Kaiser pushed him down the depth chart. Vlasic pushed him down the depth chart. Korchinski pushed him down the depth chart. Rinzel is on his way.
They might draft a defenseman.
You may draft a defenseman 2nd or 3rd overall. Another guy to push him down the depth chart.
Yeah.
So I just don't think he made the strides to keep himself on that level with those guys. So at some point, you cut bait and you move on and you give him a fresh start. Maybe he goes to a team that doesn't have a plethora of defensive prospects, and all of a sudden he becomes some team's 2nd best defensive prospect instead of being the 6th or 7th best defensive prospect here.
Yeah.
It's important to remember too that like these coaches don't just pick names out of a hat to not really care to develop. Right, they're seeing some things, or seeing some trends, or seeing some measurables that are saying like, we don't really predict this guy to be much more than he is right now. And it's not that they weren't trying to, but I think they just, I don't know, they see him for what they see him for, and it's not personal. Just kind of is what it is.
Well, and he's still pretty young. I don't think he's even 23 yet, right? Or just turned 23 recently?
He played as a 19-year-old in the COVID year.
Yeah.
So that was 2021.
He's 22. He'll be 23 in September.
Yeah. So he'll be 23 next season. He's still very young. So there's still a lot of runway to figure things out at the NHL level. And, size always helps.
He's got size. He's got a little bit of offensive touch. He's got some... Not the greatest skater in the world, but he's not terrible either for a guy that size.
He's got some meanness to his game when he wants to have it.
Yeah, so there definitely will be, if the Hawks want to move on, then, or they may say, let's give him another couple years in Rockford and see what happens, because they'll need defensemen in Rockford. We just mentioned 2 of them could be starting up and, and then maybe a 3rd joins the Hawks at some point. So you're going to need guys to play bigger minutes. So maybe that's what they tell them, saying, hey, this is your season to really make or break it with us, because you'll be our number 1 or number 2 in Rockford.
Top pair in Rockford.
Let's see what you can do. Take that next step. And if he does that, then you can reward him. And if he doesn't, then you have your answer, and you're not going to be sitting there going one day, man, we shouldn't have let him go.
Right, look, if he's back in the organization, he will play here next year. Like, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be, like, he will get another chance in the NHL, and maybe he does take a massive step. I don't know. And like you said earlier, like, development's not linear. Some guys just figure it out. Like, they have a great summer. They train with the right guy. They find the right gym, whatever it might be, or something just clicks for them, and they become a different guy. But I think it's not that they don't think he's an NHL defenseman. They just look at the trajectory of who's coming down the pipeline, and those potential ceilings and those potential NHL careers and say, well, like for you, it might be better by Isaac Phillips to let him try another opportunity. And you look at how they traded Ian Mitchell and Alec Regula. Maybe he becomes part of a trade piece where they say, look, we got this kid. He's got NHL time under his belt. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. He's 22. Yeah, we have nowhere for him. Does this sweeten the pot for you a little bit? Can we acquire your soon-to-be unrestricted free agent for Isaac Phillips, Dallas?
Yeah.
So we can have negotiating window with Chris Tanev, and then you get Isaac Phillips, and we call it even. And now, as Dallas ages out, and those guys get older, and that team starts to fade, then they've got Isaac Phillips maybe ready to go at 25, 24.
Yeah, that's also a route that they could go down. A lot of flexibility with having this many prospects and draft picks and future assets and all that. Like, you can do a lot of different things.
Yep. All right, we're going back to the mailbag. This is from Chris DeBlasi. Can't help but think about potential lines for next season entirely too early.
Yep.
What would you think about running pairs such as Kurashev-Bedard, X, Hall, Nazar, X, Reichel, Athanasiou, X, and then have fun picking a fourth line?
Oh, you got Foligno, Dickinson in the mix there. You've got a lot of guys you haven't mentioned there. But
for the top 9, you're not far off. I think Hall is going to play with Bedard and Kurashev.
I like that a lot.
So, maybe that second, third line group could be Nazar in the mix, Slaggert in the mix. Like, there's definitely some options there for, Steven Stamkos.
Hey, I like a third line of Max Domi, Lucas Reichel, and Andreas Athanasiou, who looks pretty good.
Fast and feisty.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a real fast line.
Or it's a good brand for them as well. Fast and feisty.
Or
not quite fast and furious, but fast and feisty.
Yeah.
Or a Max Domi, Frank Nazar, Landon Slager line would be a MF to play against.
That'd be a lot of fun. Be a lot of fun to watch.
Lots of options.
Yeah.
But like the pairing philosophy seems to be a lot of coaches like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad idea, but you also got to be flexible. Kurashev's been great with Bedard this year, but you got to be open minded next year to, if he struggles, find someone else that can go there.
Yeah.
But you're on the right track.
Yeah.
You're on the right track there. Those are logical.
You got
pairings.
You got Donato signed for next year too.
Yeah, Dickinson, Foligno coming back.
Yeah.
And then you'll see what you add up front.
You might have Celebrini.
Maybe.
Got to find a spot for him, potentially.
So it is a little too early. A lot of things going to happen between now and October.
We have all of August and September to figure out lines and pairings and lineups.
Stop yelling. Stop yelling, Cody. It's April. We're trying to talk about serious stuff over here. April baseball.
It would not be a mailbag unless we had questions about Connor Bedard. Tom Quinn.
Of course.
Do you see Richardson putting Bedard on the penalty kill next year?
That would very much shock me.
Not next year. I see it happening at some point in his career.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, Alex DeBrincat played PK for a while.
He did. Yeah.
Patrick Kane didn't. I don't need him to do that.
You don't need him to. I think they want to give him the opportunity to try it. And
sure.
they've tried it a few PKs late this season. I'm not going to say Connor Bedard is going to be a defensive sieve his entire career, but I don't know if he'll necessarily ever be a sulky contender.
No, but I could imagine, say, a situation where the Blackhawks take a third period penalty and they're down a goal. You put Bedard up there to try and get that shorthanded goal.
That's true. That is the one penalty Patrick Kane ever killed, was the Game 5 against Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. That was
his only
shorthanded
technically
goal. Shorthanded goal.
Yeah.
Yes, even though it was 5-on-5, but I could see that happening eventually. Probably not next year, but you never know. I mean, Connor Bedard knows what people are saying about his plus minus and his defense.
Oh yeah,
and he's going to want to get better at defense.
Yeah,
and he will get better at defense. I just don't see it happening as quickly as next season.
When Adam brings up a good point, he says, I'd rather have Bedard take the minute and a half shift the second the penalty kill's over. And that's what they've been doing with him a lot this year is as soon as they kill it, Bedard's out there for an extended shift.
Throwing him out there.
And you'll see some of those fun combos of the guys that don't typically penalty kill. Like we saw, was it last night? They all run together. It was Nazar and Bedard were out there together for a shift or two, and usually after penalty kills. So, it gives, he will, but I think he doesn't need to be all things to all units right now.
Yeah.
But just knowing his work ethic, he's going to do everything he can to be as good of a player as he can in all aspects.
Yeah, and and the defensive aspect for forwards is important. If you don't possess the all-world elite offensive talent of a Patrick Kane, you're going to have to play a little defense to be effective. We've seen it with Lucas Reichel this year, where the offensive game wasn't clicking where I think a lot of people, including Lucas himself, expected it to be. So he focused on, all right, I'm going to be more effective defensively to try and make up for this, lack of production, lack of offense that is happening right now. So for Bedard, it would be good for him to be able to. Now he does have the potential to have that top of the world offensive skill, but it serves him better in those nights, kind of like the last few games where he's been shut down offensively. If the offense isn't there on any given night, to be able to say, all right, I'm going to make an impact defensively then. I'm going to make an impact off the puck. It's better for him to be able to do that than if he's not putting up 7-8 shots, then he can't do anything else. So.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, quick pause in the mailbag to shout out Alexandra Farapas, our Portuguese pal, our Portuguese diehard, who says, I renewed for another year of CHGO.
Nice.
And got my 98C shirt. Thank you guys for the awesome content, which I think
love it.
is super cool.
Thank you.
That's awesome, Alexander. Thank you.
And
it's a sweet design, too.
Yeah,
and, really like it.
You should definitely become a diehard.
We got a lot of cool designs at the CHGO locker. Hawks-wise, we've got the Raised in Chicago #7 one that just dropped, about a month ago?
For Chelios, yep.
We've got the 81 Legendary. Can't say the names, Mario. Jesus.
I didn't say which Chelios. It's for Kaylee.
It's for Jake.
Yeah, to celebrate Kaylee Chelios.
Yeah.
And she was working while 7 months pregnant.
Yeah, she was.
There you go.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That's a 7.
And 9 months pregnant.
Yeah, we've got the Captain My Captain design.
Love that design.
Mm-hmm. Lots of good stuff.
For Troy Murray.
CHGOlocker.com.
And then Lucy B brought this up. Greg representing the Yotes today.
I'm repping my PHNX
which
shirt. Tonight will be the last ever PHNX Coyotes post-game show. So I'm just wearing this to support those guys. Craig, Leah, Petey, we're thinking about you guys. I'll be watching tonight. I'm sure it'll be emotional. Hopefully, the three of you stay within the All-City family and or move on to better things, different beats, whatever it is. I'm sure all three of you, whatever your next step is going to be a great one. You guys are going to kill it. So just showing some support to three friends, not just colleagues, but three friends who do an amazing job. And along with that entire fan base, just got the shaft. And hopefully, if the Coyotes come back one day, it is not with this same creepy scumbag owner. Yeah. They get somebody in here that actually has a clue and wants to win, because there are not a ton of diehard fans in Arizona, not compared to here or some of the more traditional markets, but there are enough there that deserve a winning franchise. So just throwing out them some support and love to our crew over there at PHNX.
And if you too would like to own that shirt, go to the PHNX locker. We talk about the CHGO locker all the time, but this purple howling Coyote tee, hey, it is currently on sale.
You got a lot of good designs.
It should be like triple the price.
Well, yeah,
they should be shooting it up.
Price gouge.
Supply and demand, baby. It's economics.
I love their version of Nux too, the cactus.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I like that.
Yeah, like their locker stuff looks great.
They got one. I think it either says PHNX or it says Arizona versus everybody, and it's the wolf like in a little fighting pose. I like that one. I think I might get that one in support of our friends at PHNX.
Yeah. But anyways, just wanted to shout that out. Let's get back to the mailbag, and here we go. Actually, let's do this one.
Chad
Campbell Elliot Friedman recently argued for an expanded playoff and said every fan should want to see the salary cap go up. You guys have said the same in the past. Why? As long as there's a cap, star players will always take up X percent and teams will be constrained. Why care what the cap is? I actually am very curious of your answer about this.
The cap going up means revenues going up, means the sport is thriving, means there's more interest, means there's more attendance, etc.
Yes.
So it means the sport is healthy.
You're not changing the cap until, well, I don't know if you're ever changing it, but at least until the next CBA is negotiated. So until that time, there is a salary cap. So you want it to be as high as possible so that your favorite team has as much flexibility as possible, and you don't run into situations where, you know, you only have $20,000 to sign a player and you can't sign a player for $20,000. And so I think the cap going up means things are going well, like you said. The expansion of the playoffs.
Can I just say one more before we get to that?
Yeah.
The other thing about the cap is, and he said like players will always take up X percent of the cap. Well, not necessarily, because you signed Seth Jones for $9.5 million 2 years ago. And that's X percent of the cap now.
Yeah.
As the cap goes up, that his number doesn't go up.
Right.
But so it's not exactly it doesn't. Not every contract starts anew when the cap is established. It's over time,
and it also helps everybody make more money.
Right.
So your seventh defenseman and your fourth line grinders, instead of getting paid, you know, $1.1 million, they can make $1.7 million. It's better for everybody.
Yeah.
More money will get spread out. It won't just all go to the top player. It will trickle down through the whole roster.
And if teams are smart, those percentages can, you know, you can say to a player, hey, if you want to stay competitive, this extra $1 million is not going to go to you. It's going to go to your teammate so that they can stick around and score 40 goals off of your 40 assists or whatever, and we can win more games. Because if we give this extra $1 million to you, they are going to leave. And then you have to score the extra 40 goals.
It's something the prior GM either failed to communicate to his players or the players did not care about. Because no one here took a million less to stay.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever part of negotiations, to be honest.
I would have bet it's not.
Probably not.
You get every dollar. You get the no movement clause.
Yeah.
You get everything you want. Thank you very much.
And then, expanding the playoffs. Fix the playoff format first before you add more teams to it.
I'm not a fan of expanding the playoffs. I'm not a fan of expanding the NHL. I think 32 teams is too many already.
Yep.
Wow.
To go to 34, 36 is just insane.
As soon as we get to 36, then we can split it into two 18-team leagues, and we can introduce relegation to the NHL.
Let's go.
I know. It would just be wonderful.
Yeah. No. I just
imagine Detroit gets relegated.
Be the best.
Last night, instead of missing the playoffs, they go down to NHLB. That'd be wonderful.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind a.
It'll never happen.
I wouldn't mind like a
North American sports fans cannot
kind of
understand relegation.
Yeah. That wouldn't bother me if they want to throw in a play-in round, just to add more interest, add more intrigue.
No. How? Look at the Bulls. Like, no one cares that they're in the play-in round. It's not. It's not exciting.
Yeah, but I mean, you could have. What if there's a team though that's like,
but it's
let's just say Edmonton loses Connor McDavid for 60 games.
That sucks.
And he comes back and he's ready for the end, and they get in the play-in and they make some noise. It's intriguing. It draws more interest. You could shorten a season and add a play-in round.
You're never going to shorten a season.
They're not going to say take away money from us so other teams can make more money. That would never happen.
No, I don't think expanding the playoffs is necessary. I mean, you're getting teams that are, if you look at just wins and losses, you don't even, it's like, oh, overtime losses is a separate category. Yeah, but you still lost. If you just take it as games won and games lost, you have teams that are under 500 getting into the postseason. I don't think you need to expand teams that land in the middle and reward them for that. Like when they expanded the postseason because of COVID and everything, and the Blackhawks were in. Like, yeah, it was exciting to be like, oh wow, they upset the Oilers, but at the end of it, it was like, okay, cool. And then you get wrecked by Vegas in the next round, and then honestly, then you lose a team like Edmonton out of the postseason, which They deserved to be there that year more, and would have had I would have thought, better chance against Vegas in a normal playoff situation.
Well,
So the less that you're getting teams like this year's Penguins, this year's Red Wings, this year's Wild into the postseason, you're just mucking it up. Like, get the best teams that are going to be there. Let them figure it out.
Yeah, because you will see more. Excuse me. You will see more play-in upsets in the NHL than the NBA. We had that discussion before about how many times as a team, we've seen 8 seeds win Stanley Cups, make it to the final. We've seen 7, 6, 5 seeds go on runs. Almost every year, at least one lower half team makes it far. In the NBA, it's happened like 4 times in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Where a team ranked lower than 4 makes it to the conference final.
Yeah.
So in the NBA, the Bulls win their play-in series. They go play the Boston Celtics and just there's no chance.
Yeah.
Right.
The talent gap between 1 and 8 in the NBA is much further than 1 through 8 in the NHL.
Well, and
NHL is such a random, weird sport where crazy things can happen. Hot goalie, funny bounces. Where a play-in team could, say they had it this year, and Detroit is a playoff play-in team. They're a team that could get in and then upset, a Rangers in the first round, or Boston in the first round. They could. You'd see it more with the NHL, but I still don't want. I still don't want it.
I think you've had 16 playoff teams forever, and the league has gotten so much bigger.
You had 16 playoff teams when you had 20 in the league.
That's what I'm saying. And now you have 32, and you still only have 16 teams.
Yeah, I think
why not do 20?
No, because I think half the league making the postseason is enough. Like I think that's enough. I don't think you need to minimize it. I don't think you need to expand it to
should not
to
be
reflect,
rewarded for mediocrity.
Yeah, I don't think you need to expand it to reflect 75% of the league gets to play in the postseason.
Because then you make the regular season even more meaningless than it already is.
Yeah.
Still got to get there.
I think as they expand the league, which they are going to, keep it at 16. It's a nice, tidy number. You get your top 8 in each conference.
Makes a bracket easy to run.
And then, if you fix the format or whatever, then you literally have like the best teams of each conference, the best teams of the league playing in the postseason. And you don't have these teams that are 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, where it's just like they have to rely on a player getting hot to have anything going for them. I would just much rather see the best teams have the best opportunity.
Oh, and Jimmy brings up a good point. He said last night was great for the 8 spot in the East. Don't lose that. I mean, that the last couple days, last week or so, has been like a playing round for Philly and Detroit, and for
they've been playing each other too.
Yeah, like
sometimes those things play out themselves.
That's how the NHL should make their regular season schedule, where the last 2 weeks of the season you play nothing but your divisional foes.
That would be smart.
There's your playing round.
Yeah,
right. If you need to beat the Blues and the Wild and the Predators to get into the playoffs, play the Blues, the Predators, and the Wild your last 3 games of the season.
And that would also deter teams like Vegas. It would deter teams like Vegas from sitting Mark Stone out for the last few weeks, because every game is divisional, and there could be a major swing in playoff seeding if they start to fall apart. So that's a really good idea.
Yeah. Start the season where you play the division to start the year. 2 games against each team is your first month of the season. Then play everybody else. Last month of the season is nothing but divisional games.
Love that.
There's your play-in.
All right, how many more we got?
We got one more.
Let's do it and wrap up.
Let's talk realignment. Jake.com. There were some rumors floating that the divisions would realign with Arizona moving, putting Salt Lake City and Colorado in the Pacific and Edmonton and Calgary in the Central. If this happens, how would realignment help or hurt the Hawks in the regular season or for playoff seeding?
Well, if Arizona is going from the Central to the Pacific, being rebranded as Salt Lake, and Colorado goes from the Central to the Pacific, you're putting a mid team and a top team in the Pacific if you're bringing in Edmonton and Calgary, you're bringing in a mid team and a top team to the Central.
Wash.
So it all evens out.
Instead of playing Nathan McKinnon 4 times a year, play Connor McDavid 4 times a year.
Wonderful.
It's a wash.
So I mean, I don't think it makes that big of an impact.
Calgary is more frequently successful than Arizona.
Right.
But only nominally so now with the new ownership.
Currently, right now,
yeah, right.
They're kind of in that same tier. So yeah, I don't think it really makes a huge difference. Especially, Arizona sometimes are on Pacific time and sometimes they're Mountain or whatever. I don't know however that works. So at least with Edmonton and Calgary, you're eliminating some Pacific time zone starts.
It's more. And 2 reasons why I want to see that happen. Selfish reasons. What other reasons are there? More games with O Canada at the United Center.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those sweet, sweet Calgary road
uniforms.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
And the Edmonton road uniforms. Those
have
have
nice
2 of the
too.
best.
Yeah.
But as long as they wear those 80s style uniforms,
Royal
2 of the
blue.
best in the game. Get those at the United Center at least one more time a year.
Yeah.
I'm good.
What
Sounds
they
good
need
to
to
me.
do is they need to add Houston and
The Houston Arrows?
well,
And bring
Houston
Phoenix
team.
back.
Bring Phoenix back, add Houston, and
the
then
Hawks in the
put
East.
Chicago in the East, and put all the original 6 teams in the same division.
That'd be beautiful.
Been saying that for years.
Done.
I would love the Hawks in the East because
I love that we've fixed the NHL in this episode.
send this tape
So
to
many
Gary
good
Bettman
ideas
immediately.
to
On
just
its way.
fix the league.
You've got his email, don't you?
It's gbettman at
Yeah,
gmail.com.
I think he's at like.
NHL guy Gary at hotmail.com.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something besides
Or
hot.
at,
Netscape?
you know what?
I don't know.
He probably still has an AOL
Yeah.
address.
Yeah. You've got mail.
Send
Or
him a
s-
messenger.
But before I didn't care, but now as I'm getting older and fighting off sleep because we had a 9 o'clock game last night and a 9:30 game tomorrow, Hawks in the East, please, where 50 some odd of your games start at 7 o'clock or earlier, please.
Yeah.
That would be
Please.
awesome. I would love that. I think you all would too. All right, we're going to wrap things up. We're back tomorrow. Remember, watch along, 9:37 puck drop. So we'll start to watch along at 9:30. We'll get you your lines. If we have time, we'll hear from Luke, and then we'll get you right to the game. We'll be with you throughout, and then we'll have an abbreviated post-game show tomorrow night. Slightly abbreviated, but abbreviated nonetheless, because it will be very, very late. So make sure you're with us,
it's gonna start at
9:30
like
for the
1 in the
watch-along.
Oh,
Can be
boy.
fun.
All right.
Coors Light, pizza, etc.
All right. Do you want to say goodbye to the correct podcast before we leave?
I'm gonna give it a shot.
Make sure you subscribe to the right podcast.
Yes, you can't find the old one anymore. Make sure you like this video, by the way. Hit the like button,
Yeah.
subscribe on YouTube, and then when you're done, open your podcast app, search for the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast, follow it, subscribe it, leave it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 9:30 for the final game of the season, Hawks and Kings watch along on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.